That 70 stash coming in decently though, huh? What's good, YouTube? It is your boy Thesis, aka Thesis himself, from Vaping with Thesis. That's right, God bless it. Now look, today we've got the Aegis Legend Kit by Geek Vape. This is an absolutely beautiful mod. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. The comment question of the day is propane or slow smoke? Damn it, Bobby, put some clothes on. Okay, smell the truckers. Now with that being said, let's go and get up close and personal with the Aegis Legend Kit by Geek Vape. Okay, it's NinjaMilitia. Now peep game, son. Today we have got the Aegis Legend Kit. Tell you the truth, I don't know if it's Aegis or Aegis or Aegis. I couldn't tell you. But what I can tell you is this is one of my favorite kits I've ever picked up for this price range. I've actually paid upwards of $120, $150 for mods that did not live up to what this thing offers. I picked this up on VapingWithThesis for around 60 to 70 bucks. And if you do plan on picking this bad boy up, please do so by clicking the link in the description. That is how I make the money back from me purchasing these devices. First and foremost, you take a look at the box. Absolutely gorgeous. IP67 water and dust resistant. That is amazing. When you grab this device, you'll notice that immediately. Highly shock resistant, upgraded AS chip, fast and accurate color display screen, powered with dual 18650s. As we open it up, this is exactly how you see it, minus the coil kit here. The coil that was there was the mesh version. That is what I was using at first. I'm not a fan of mesh coils personally. Now let me add an addendum to that. It's because of my menthol. Simply put, if you took 5 tanks and filled it with the identical juice from the identical bottle, all 5 of those will hit different flavor notes. Now granted, there's going to be some overall similarities because you're using the same flavor. The difference being is each coil will accentuate and highlight certain nuances in any given juice. For me personally, it seems like mesh coils and notch coils don't necessarily cut the mustard for my menthol. When I put a custard in a mesh coil, the cream base that is in a custard definitely gets highlighted, and that's something I really like. So with that being said, I enjoy mesh coils for other liquids, but not for my daily vape. First, we got the Aerotank, which is a little bit strange. If a lot of you veteran vapors out there will remember, there was an Aerotank. I don't remember who it was by, but I do remember, I think it was Kangertech, and it was kind of a shitty tank for the time, so it's kind of weird that you see Geek Vape using the name Aero. Now the diameter of this tank does run at 25 millimeters. Most devices nowadays are capable of accommodating 25 millimeters without any issues. Quarter turn top fill system, and that's where you go like this, you push down, you pop up. I absolutely love how fast and easy it is to get that top cap off. 4 milliliter capacity. Now again, that's more than enough for most people. My preference is 5 mils and above. That's why I personally like the Fire Luke original, not the mesh, but the Fire Luke original tank, this bad boy. And you can see the big difference between the two is capacity. The feeling I get when I'm holding this tank is high quality. And that goes to show you guys how high quality that this bad boy is for the price. Now the airflow on this tank, I'm gonna say, is asthmatic with the mesh coils. With this coil in particular, you can hear it is even more asthmatic than the mesh coil. It's definitely not something I would consider to be a giant cloud tank or even a huge flavor tank. And this is running at 0.15 ohms. Anything that runs at 0.15 ohms, I'm gonna look for a more open airflow. That's just what I prefer because it's gonna be using a lot more power. The original mesh coil that I was using when it first got here was a 0.4 ohm coil, and to me, that is a perfect resistance for the airflow that this thing allots you. You do get an extra glass, just a regular cylinder, no bubble tank. Now if you take a look, this thing is not skimped upon. This is around 16 inches or so. You do get a full set of O-rings and a 510 drip tip adapter. That is something I like. With the characteristics of the airflow being so tight, I would prefer a 510 drip tip over the 810 that it comes with. And then of course in this bag you have extra screws, and you do have an extra dust cover for the USB charging port just in case you lose the one that's sitting on top. If you were to hand me this device at a vape meet, I would have assumed that this thing costs 50 or 60 bucks more than it does. The ergonomics, the mix of materials, the pleather, the stitching, even down to the screen, even down to the battery door. Now as I grab the batteries and throw them in there, you're going to see the positive and negative symbols right there on the bottom. That is the exact orientation that you want to keep. And then on the opposite end, you've got the positive and the negative symbol right there. I want you guys to pay attention to how much pressure I've actually got to put on this spring lock for this thing to actually close. pull it back, push all the way down, and go ahead and push forward. That right there is battery door perfection. I could not ask for anything better. On the bottom, you see a quick safety feature that is the venting holes right there. There's some positives and negatives you can draw from this being rubber. One of them is the obvious: when you drop this, it is going to have some impact resistance. Now, the biggest issue with the rubberized molding is taking it in and out of your pocket. Again, that's not something a lot of other reviewers will touch on. For me, that is something that's important to me. How easy is it to slip in and out of my pockets? I don't want to have to think about shit when I'm vaping. I just want to be able to use it and go. This is a very hefty, high quality feeling device, which also means it's kind of heavy. All of the screws you see are hex or star, which is always a good thing. Generally speaking, you don't want to see Phillips or flatheads. The use of the device is extremely simple: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, very user friendly. Now, before we put the tank on, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the 510. It is nice and spring loaded, not quite as much travel as I would expect to see. It is around 2 or so millimeters of spring travel. The threads, if you take a listen, that is exactly what you would expect for this price range. I'm gonna go ahead and take a puff. I want you guys to hear how quickly this thing will fire. It is a clicky button. I do think this button is plastic. I don't want to cut into the button itself just because I do enjoy this mod. I do want this mod for quite some time. In order to go into the menu settings, 1, 2, 3, the word power is highlighted up top. You can go ahead and cycle through by going left or right. Temperature control for your NI, your stainless steel, your titanium, your TCR, and then your VPC, that's your actual curve itself, and then your bypass, which turns it into essentially a mech mod. Go back to power, that's exactly where I want to stay. Hawkeye, smell the truckers. Now with that being said, let's go and get back to regular view, son. Welcome back to Regular View with your boy Thesis. Now peep game, son. My final summation is this: the Geek Vape Legend Kit as a whole is a phenomenal system. In my humble opinion, I think it's one of the best high-end feeling kits that I've used for under $100 in quite some time. Most high-end devices come with a high-end price tag. This isn't the case with this kit. And to be completely honest with you guys, everything about this mod screams quality. There's a couple of things I pointed out that I don't like, one of them being the inject molding that seems to be on the corners. It just kind of flops and flaps. Not a huge issue in the short term. However, I'm a little bit concerned with the long term. Every time you drop this on the corner and say it peels it back, how many times can you do that before that rubber comes off? With that being said, I do think they did an excellent job just in terms of the overall design. Granted, this is not necessarily a unique design. Look at something like the Therion. They have similar style devices, but then again, it's a really ergonomic style. That's a positive for me. One of the negatives and positives that I felt about this device is the rubberized material. I love a rubberized paint job. I love that rubber exterior, especially if you're gonna go hiking, biking, anything along those lines, especially if you're on a construction site and you drop stuff on a constant basis or around dust. However, the downside is always gonna be going in and out of your pockets. If you're wearing denim, shorts, it doesn't matter what the material is. Rubber is inherently sticky. This is no exception. The back of the device with the red stitching and the leather, I can't believe it survived the amount of abuse that I put through it. If you watched the first part of this review of me hiking and I dropped it many a time on purpose, I was expecting by the time I was finished that there was gonna be a rip from a rock on this pleather. That's not the case. That hasn't happened yet, and I don't see it happening in the near future, especially with this being a beveled edge. You see how this comes out just above that leather. I feel like this is being protected for the most part. The tank in general is a great tank. Not for my menthol in terms of the mesh. The only downside is the capacity of the tank isn't quite as high as I would want it to be, especially with the replacement tank being the straight tank. I think they should have just included another bubble tank. That's just my opinion. The button is perfect. I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to feel about that little point, but to tell you the truth, I love it. After a while, I've gotten so used to it, it actually just fits and feels so comfortable. If you take a look at this little point, right there, it just fits perfectly right on the tip of your finger, the pad of your finger, depending on how you grip it. It's a feature-packed device without being overly complicated. And to me, that's something I find extremely attractive when it comes to purchasing any product. I don't care if it's headphones, I don't care if it's a camera, I don't care if it's a mod, whatever the device is, I want it to be the best user experience that money can buy. Period, plain and simple. And I think Geek Vape really knocked it out of the park with this bad boy. One of my favorite features about this mod is going to be the dust covers for the USB charging port. The downside about that is that it's only 1 amp. 1 amp charging to me is pretty, it's still pretty slow. Granted, the slower you charge your batteries, the better charge you'll get. The 510 on it, as I explained, is absolutely perfect. So all in all, would I recommend this device? Absolutely, there's no question about it. There's a definite and noticeable increase from price to product quality over the past few years, and I love the direction that it's going in. Personally, for the price, I don't think you can get a much better kit as of right now during the recording of this video. Hawkeye, mother truckers. Now with that being said, don't forget to hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and of course, patreon.com/ThesisHimself. That is the only way you are able to get the t-shirts at the $20 level. With that being said, a huge shout out goes to the Patreons. Thank each and every one of you guys. You guys are the ones who are literally responsible for unsponsored content. Hawkeye, mother truckers. Now with that being said, I want to tell y'all that I appreciate y'all for vaping with Thesis. It is your boy Thesis. I'm out. Cool. I think, yeah, there was a wood chip